It's time for Kit Kat 1, 2, 3. Kit Kat 1, 2, 3. Kit Kat 1, 2, 3. Yay!
Nickelodeon's The Fairly OddParents. Timmy's parents aren't exactly what he would have wished for.
I'm hip.
And his babysitter's not in a zillion years what he would have wished for.
Hey! I heard happy!
It's a good thing he has two fairy godparents who can give him whatever he wishes for. Just wish they knew what they were doing. Catch Nick's brand new Nicktoon, The Fairly OddParents. Fridays at 8:30, 7:30 Central. Only on Nick.
Hello, everybody! I'm back with another Nickelodeon review. This time is for The Fairly OddParents, so let's jump in here. The Fairly OddParents is the 17th Nicktoon I'll be reviewing for my project. It is the first Nicktoon to be spun off from pilot program Oh Yeah Cartoons, premiering on March 30th, 2001, alongside fellow Nicktoon Invader Zim. It aired 172 episodes over 10 seasons. It was created by former Johnny Bravo writer and soap opera actor Butch Hartman, who went on to create 3 other shows for Nickelodeon after this one. During the Fairly OddParents run, it was the second most popular show on the network after Rugrats ending, proving to be a serious rival to SpongeBob in its early days. Unfortunately, the production history was troubled, and the Fairly OddParents ended production about 3 different times before being picked up for more seasons, the most notable cancellation being after the 5th season, where the show made no new episodes for a full 2 years before coming back. The show is mostly known now for perceived seasonal rot after the 6th season, becoming increasingly more prevalent in the 9th and 10th seasons, inserting new characters in willy-nilly and forgetting about old ones, and creator Butch Hartman's weird Christian views contradicting his own show. Do I think there's seasonal rot? How do I feel about the characters? Is MPreg against the Bible? All questions will be answered shortly. Before I talk about my thoughts on the show, let's start with the premise. 10-year-old Timmy Turner has inattentive parents, a mean babysitter, and is bullied in school by the popular kids and a scary gray boy named Francis. Because his life is miserable, he's granted fairies to make his life more enjoyable. Cosmo and Wanda, a couple of fairies that have been married for the past 10,000 years. Cosmo is stupid but caring, and Wanda is more strict but very motherly. Together, Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda get into trouble because of Timmy's weird and strange wishes, and their obligation to follow each of them to the letter. Other characters include Timmy's best friends, the son of a disgraced baseball star, Chester McBadbat, and the smartest kid in his class, AJ, no last name. Timmy has a crush on Trixie Tang, the most popular girl in school and a secret tomboy, and is crushed on by an annoying little girl, Tootie, who happens to be the sister of his evil babysitter and namesake of popular Chip Skylar Kick, Vicky. Timmy is also tormented by his crazy fairy-obsessed teacher, Mr. Crocker. Cosmo and Wanda's Arnold Schwarzenegger-esque boss, Jorgen von Strangle. The anti-fairy is the pixies, whatever wish he popped up that grew to hate on his parents at times, his fairies at times, his dentist, Dr. Bender, amongst many, many other people who want this 10-year-old dead. Other characters are introduced later in the show as well, including Cosmo and Wanda's wished-up son, Poof, Timmy's fairy dog and annoying menace, Sparky, and a perfectionist he's forced to share his fairies with, Chloe Carmichael. The latter 2 characters only appear in seasons 9 and 10 respectively, where Poof appears in all seasons after season 6. I first watched The Fairly OddParents when I was a little girl. We used to have the first 2 TV movies, Abracatastrophe and Channel Chasers, on DVD, and I remember watching them on a semi-regular basis, but way less than SpongeBob. I saw most of the 6 through 8 seasons as they aired on TV, and saw the occasional rerun whenever it aired on Nick or Nicktoons, whatever. I liked it well enough, but not as much as I love SpongeBob. Have my opinions changed since I was a little kid, or have I stayed entirely static over the past 18 years? Let's find out. Instead of reviewing the whole show as one big block, I'll be splitting it up into segments like I did for SpongeBob, because a ton changed over the 10 seasons The Fairly OddParents was on the air. For the eras, I'll be doing seasons 1 through 5 as a chunk, 6 through 8 as the middle chunk, and 9 and 10 as the last chunk. Actually really liked the first 4-ish seasons of The Fairly OddParents a lot more on rewatch, My first watch through back in 2021, I was on a pretty disastrous road trip to Virginia. It took us like 15 hours to get there without a break, and I was watching the first 3 seasons throughout the whole car ride. When I got to season 5, my grandma broke her knee when we went to a restaurant, and I had to watch the rest of the season in the hospital waiting room, waiting for my mom to take us back to the hotel. While I was watching the show in the chairs, a lady in front of me was sobbing uncontrollably the whole time I was there. While I was watching the show, it made me reconsider the whole Nicktoon project as a whole. I felt dumb as hell watching it in that hospital. It was a horrible vacation, and I will always have that memory haunt me when I'm trying to go to sleep. Anyway, traumatic memories aside, I ended up liking the first couple of seasons a lot more on rewatch. The rapid-fire comedy and physical gags of the first couple seasons actually made me laugh pretty hard, which I was pleasantly surprised by. It felt like the first couple seasons actually respected kids' attention spans, despite being bright and colorful and pretty loud. There's also a lot of dark humor that I really love, especially in one of my favorite episodes, Season 3's of That's Life, where Timmy wishes his mom's garden would grow and therefore brings his dead pet hamster buried in it back to life. I also really loved Cosmo and Wanda's relationship in seasons 1 through 3. They were a really cute couple and had a lot of great moments together. They were really sweet before season 5 hit, but I'll talk about that later. Timmy also had a great dynamic with his friends, Chester and AJ. I talked about them. I wish that their friend group continued throughout the entire show, but alas, they would be eventually forgotten by around season 7 or 6 or 5 even. 5 even, Jesus. I wish that the popular kids also got some more screen time during the first couple seasons. They get practically nothing in the latter parts of the show, but even in the beginning, they're basically just one-dimensional rich kid stereotypes meant to be hated by the audience. Trixie especially was a wasted character. I wish her tomboy side could have been explored more, there maybe being the odd one out in Timmy's friend group. Veronica was also used really weirdly, with her basically just being a screaming sycophant to Trixie, having no personality outside of a minor crush on Timmy, which is major to her, but in the long scheme of the show, it's like nothing. The art style of the series was at its absolute peak in the first season, like SpongeBob. Episodes like Dog's Day Afternoon having Doidle, Vicky's dog being a little cutie patootie. The rest of the characters look really nice as well. The design of both Dimsdale and Fairy World are very contrasting and have very interesting environments. They make both seem like lived-in cities, which is always really nice to me. The music in these seasons is also really good. Guy Moon was a great composer for the series. Now it's sad to learn of his passing last year. Songs like Icky Vicky, Shiny Teeth, and the theme song have a great energy to them and are genuine earworms that I never get tired of. I listen to the theme song throughout every episode of this show, up until season 10, we'll talk about that later. I loved hearing it each time. The background music is also really fun and peppy, and I can't end this section without talking about my ultimate favorite Fairly OddParents song, the Pixies rap in School's Out the Musical. Now that's music. The early 2000s aesthetic of the first few seasons is also really neat to watch nowadays, with so many episodes like Information Stupor Highway and Odd Jobs being dedicated to how neat the internet was at the time. Ha ha ha! And pop stars like Chip Skylark and Britney being obvious stand-ins for pop culture figures at the time. The datedness of the early seasons isn't always for the better, though. There's an entire episode in season 5 that's just a parody of American Idol, complete with a nasty Asian stereotype that's just brushed over by the show and by most fans, let's be real. There's references to the Bush v. Gore election in one of the episodes. There's a lot of weird plastic surgery and nose job jokes towards the end of the original run. More concerningly, however, there's a ton of weird sexism and racism that never really gets addressed. Characters like Sanjay and the aforementioned Asian stereotype fairy and Fairy Idol obviously haven't aged well, with Sanjay being voiced by a white man doing an over-exaggerated Indian accent and having a weird almost crush on Timmy. Chester also morphs into a really weird poor stereotype towards the middle of the original run, where his only joke is that he's poor and eats garbage because he's poor. Trixie and Tootie are also treated kind of weird by the narrative, with Trixie herself treating herself as a prize to win in the episode Beach Bummed, and never really getting character development outside of the boy who would be queen, which is a whole can of worms in and of itself. Tootie's just treated like a weird, creepy stalker that Timmy has to brush off constantly. She only has a couple episodes dedicated to her terrible-ass life as a sister of Vicky. One of my favorite ones would be the birthday one, where she actually gets to win something for once. But other than that, she's just a creepy stalker. Ooh. Oh, she's so crazy. Well, I don't think Vicky is a particularly great female character. She works as an antagonist at the very least, and the show itself is never really sexist to her. I don't like how her character evolved either, with her just being an apathetic, greedy babysitter at the beginning, and becoming a bloodthirsty, kid-hating maniac by season 3, maybe 4. But she does get some hidden depths in episodes like Snowbound and the Wishology trilogy later on. There are tons of gender stereotypes presented as concrete fact within the series as well, with Vicky included despite her not being very traditionally feminine besides loving Chip Scarlark. And The Boy Who Would Be Queen, the episode I mentioned before, Timmy wishes to be a girl for a day to find Trixie a good birthday present. But during the episode, he also wishes for Cosmo and Wanda to swap sexes as well. They become typical man-woman stereotypes that they don't have when they're the right sex. Wanda as a man is a fat, balding, lazy bum, and Cosmo as a woman is a fashion-obsessed nag, which isn't entirely accurate to their actual sexes, except Wanda being a nag, which I'll get to later because I don't think she was one. She's the main character. She's the best one. But I digress. The gender stereotypes are taken to the nadir in the episode Love Struck, however, where after getting rejected by Trixie for the millionth time on Valentine's Day, Timmy decides to wish up a world without women. All the women are transported to their own world, and Timmy's left with all the men on his side. The women instantly form a nice, perfect utopia, including previously mentioned Flannerizing and evil Vicky, and the men turn the world into a stinky garbage pit. Eventually, however, everyone's heterosexual urges start kicking in. Once Cupid chews Timmy out for ruining his holiday, Timmy wishes the world back to normal so everyone be heterosexual sweethearts. There are a crazy amount of gender stereotypes in this episode. It makes it pretty uncomfortable to watch nowadays. All women are perfect angels, and all men are depicted as fat, lazy slobs, and that's just how it works in this episode. Besides Cupid, who's obviously a gay stereotype, despite being canonically straight because the writers are cowards. Everybody in this world is also depicted as straight and lonely for the opposite sex in this episode as well, which 1, isn't reflective of the real world, and 2, pretty funny once you find out that the voice actor of Cosmo is literally married to another man. Like, I know it was the 2000s, and, gay people don't exist in cartoons, but let's be fucking real here, Overall, despite the first couple seasons aging pretty poorly when it comes to diversity and basically being politically correct in general, they're still pretty fun watches and have really nice character designs and art, which I appreciate. Some of my favorite from the first couple seasons include That's Life, which I mentioned already, Smarty Pants from season 2. It's one of the very few episodes with actually a good moral and a nice ending. People are good at other things, and that's what makes people great, with Timmy and AJ managing to win a trivia contest due to their different skill sets. The same game was a basic message about diversity and prejudiced people managing to stay prejudiced no matter what. And Channel Chasers from season 4 is my absolute favorite special out of the series. The amount of different shows being parodied, the art style changes, the live action bits with Blue's Clues, my favorite one, and Sesame Street. The relationship between Timmy and his future self are all really iconic. I watched the special a ton growing up, and it made me tear up near the end where Timmy's finally grown up despite having seen it at least 30 times as a kid. Now, season 5, despite being part of the original production cycle, was not nearly as good as the first 4 seasons. Cosmo is flanderized into an even more brain-melted dumbass. Wanda is purely a shrill nag, or at least that's what they call her. And there's a bit of reliance on gimmick characters like Mark Chang, who I never really thought was funny, and Remy Bucks aplenty. That's not to say the whole season's bad. There's still some good episodes like Hassle in the Castle, where Cosmo and Wanda are revealed to have caused World War I by a little girl's wish, and Timmy's 2D House of Horror, where Vicky's family moves in with Timmy's, and he has to terrify them into leaving his house. But most of the bad episodes are worse than their ones in the first couple seasons. The humor is played out, and honestly, the music and sound effects get a little bit too annoying. There's either a musical sting or a sound effect played after every single movement, and also kind of gave me a headache. The only special fairy idol was annoying and dated and racist, like I talked about before. And the end episodes especially were a giant mixed bag, with the frankly awful Timmy the Barbarian paired up with the great No Substitute for Crazy. The Crash Nebula pilot is also in this season, and my opinions on it have grown even more sour as the years go on, so I say skip it. After the last episode of the 5th season aired, the Fairly OddParents production ended for 2 full years before Nickelodeon decided to bring it back because it made them a lot of money. Before the 6th season began, a new character's birth would start the new era for the Fairly OddParents. One could say it was a fairly odd baby.
Tomorrow night, the Fairly Odd Family gets a fresh face. Baby, 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 baby. Turner, where is the music? I want to get funky. Don't miss the year's most magical event, the brand new Fairly Odd Parents movie, Fairly Odd Baby. Be here for the very special delivery, due tomorrow night at 8, only on Nick. How's your Google?
Well, the first 5 seasons of The Fairly Odd Parents had its moments of hacky boomer humor, especially during season 5. It was really cranked up for seasons 6 through 8, with a lot of stupid recurring gags about shit and screaming. Literal shit, by the way. I started reliving some of my childhood memories rewatching this season, then realized by the 7th that most of the episodes were really annoying, and that's why I stopped watching it as a kid. The characters also get really dumbed down in the 6th season onward. Cosmo specifically, even from season 5, goes from being merely stupid to being brain dead for the joke, quotes. Wanda honestly gets like nothing to do in these seasons besides calling Timmy and Cosmo idiots and being a mother to Poof, which is a shame because she's my favorite, best character. I love you. Honestly, women as a whole aren't written the best in any season of The Fairly Odd Parents, but the middle has basically no moments for the female characters to really shine, beyond Wishology and an occasional episode with Vicky like Frenemy Mine. Timmy's parents, especially in the 6th and 7th season, instead of being merely neglectful, are fucking assholes to him in like every episode. His dad like constantly tells him to his face that his dreams died when Timmy was born. His parents care more about Vicky re-recording over a videotape that they were going to send to a reality show more than her using Timmy as a toilet plunger, etc., etc., etc. I know his parents are supposed to be stupid because it's funny, but parental abuse isn't really funny, even if it's in a cartoon. No Cartoon Boy and his PCC? Like that. They even forget that Timmy's mom even has a job in one of season 7's episodes, The Old Man and the C-. One of the main reasons his parents couldn't spend time with him in the show is that they're always working or going to work outings. She's literally a real estate agent. Her job was shown in Channel Chasers, man. The stupid equals funny mantra that the show has during the middle seasons and the last one, but we'll get to it, is really annoying to watch because it didn't used to be like that. Timmy's parents weren't really stupid, just neglectful. All of the characters on the show feel like they're in a never-ending sugar rush, and it's just a headache to watch. The absolute worst episode of the middle season would be Super Poof in season 6, I'm pretty sure, where Timmy's parents find Poof and decide to keep him as their new son, and basically neglect and abuse Timmy for the whole rest of the episode. I'm guessing the writers were doing a lot of lifting to make their negligence funny, but once again, it's way too wacky and over the top to actually be funny, and too dark and weird to be taken as just light comedy. It's a strange mix of concepts that just doesn't work out. The constant weird running gags in the first half of season 6 really ruined most of the season's humor, which is a shame because I like Poof as a character. He was a cute, fun addition to the show and didn't really have anything to do with the lacking quality of these couple of seasons. Foop, Poof's anti-fairy opposite, on the other hand, is a little shit and I hate him. I know the audience is supposed to hate him for being a little shit or whatever, but he's just really annoying and a big screen hog whenever he's in an episode, especially in Playdate of Doom, which basically is a less bad Fairly Odd Parents version of A Pal for Gary, even though it still kinda sucks. I will say, however, both Poof and Foop are way better characters than Dill on Rugrats ever was. The other new baby, Tara Strong, played on a Nicktoon. Poof actually has some semblance of a personality and doesn't make my ears bleed by crying 24/7. Good job, guys. However, the weird gross out jokes about barf and shit and diapers and stuff are also really played out throughout these seasons. I don't know if there was someone with a shit fetish on the writer's staff, but in the first couple seasons, there basically weren't any gross out jokes, instead of being focused on physical humor and all that wacky shit. I just don't enjoy gross out at all, so I don't know why it's here. Most of the recurring characters also phased out during these seasons. Timmy's friends stop appearing around season 7. Trixie and Tootie's last speaking roles are in season 6 and 7 respectively. Even characters like Mark Chain and Chet You Betcha are barely used in these seasons, instead of being replaced by Mr. Crocker or Timmy's dad or Foop, which would really ramp up in the last 2 seasons. There's a lot of screaming in these episodes as well, which I think is a lazy attempt to get kids to laugh. Most of these seasons are characters by cloying, pandering, writing to kids, and I don't enjoy that at all. The earlier seasons never needed to mug to the camera to get me to laugh. Overall, seasons 6 through 8 aren't great television, but you can turn your mind off and still sort of enjoy them. There's a lot of I hate my wife gags, there's a lot of poop jokes, there's a lot of rule of 3 humor. Hey, wait. But some episodes like Poltergeeks or the Wishology trilogy are generally pretty good Fairly OddParents episodes. Season 8 is also a pretty good season. I'm not big on the 10th year anniversary special Timmy's Secret Wish, but the rest of the episodes are pretty good and feel like mid-season 4 episodes. I know a lot of people hate Love Triangle, but I've always thought it was cute and way better than Spellementary School in season 7. Meet the OddParents is also genuinely a pretty sweet and heartwarming finale, with Timmy's real parents finally meeting his godparents and getting into wacky shenanigans with them. Ooh. It would have made a great finale to the rest of the show, which is why I ended my initial watch through with it 5 years ago. However, unfortunately, The Fairly OddParents was renewed for another 2 very unnecessary seasons. Let's see how shit they are. I hated almost every minute of watching the last 2 seasons of The Fairly OddParents. Both seasons started out pretty decent, having solid 6 out of 10, maybe even 7 out of 10 episodes in both first halves, before crashing spectacularly and becoming train wrecks to watch in the later episodes. Let's start with Season 9's biggest faults first, and then move on to Season 10 before I try and wrap this up, because, ooh. Let's talk about the one thing Season 9 did good. The Fairly OddParents finally transitioned to HD in Season 9, and it genuinely looks pretty nice. The characters look nice and crisp, and the backgrounds look great, especially compared to the more flat, simplistic backgrounds from the rest of the series. The art style upgrade is basically the only compliment I have for this season, however. Sparky, the new fairy dog Timmy adopts at the start of the season, is annoying. That's not a surprise to literally anyone who's paid attention to Fairly OddParents criticism over the past 15 years. I'm more disappointed by the lack of potential Sparky had than his actual annoyingness. He starred in a couple episodes. The first episode of the season, Fairly Odd Pet, Hero Hound, a boy and his dog boy. But most of the episode he's just in the background quipping random jokes or doing nothing. Sparky gets basically nothing to do throughout the show but be an asshole and make dumb jokes and want to fuck mailmen, and that's it. He disappears after season 9 with no one acknowledging his existence at all. Oh well. Poof completely falls to the wayside in the season as well, only showing up in the first half and having almost no appearances for the rest of the show beyond one season 10 episode, and we'll get to that one later. Him and Foop's rivalry is actually beginning to get interesting since Poof developed speech, and yet he's packed up to nowhere and Foop gets to pal around with Crocker. Speaking of Crocker, he's the absolute fucking worst part of the last seasons of the show. The many plots involving him and his mother hating each other go nowhere and is annoying as hell. And there are tons of them throughout these 2 seasons. Some examples off the top of my head include Croc Block, Fairly Old Parent, Croc in the House, Married to the Mom, and Turning into Turner. I do not understand the appeal of Crocker in these seasons. He exists to be a lonely, crazy old man who yells at his mommy all day, and apparently that's supposed to be either funny or entertaining. Eventually his nephew that acts the exact same way that he does and looks the exact same and tells the exact same annoying jokes also gets introduced, and he also fails at being funny. Timmy's dad is also increasingly annoying throughout the rest of the show, with him popping up in almost every episode, sometimes even playing the part that Chester and AJ would used to fill in the earlier seasons, i.e. Dimsdale Days and Summer Bummer in season 10. He's less abusive than he was in season 6 and 7, but his bumbling stupid dad shtick is so tired and played out, I fucking hated him. Hated seeing him in every episode. Oh my god. Speaking of season 10, I thought the idea of Chloe being one of Timmy's friends could have been interesting, even with the stupid fairy sharing plot whatever, and the switch to the worst Nicktoon theme song since The Brothers Flub. Do not like the re-recorded theme song at all. However, like Sparky before, she's full of wasted potential. She basically just pops up to say how much of a perfectionist she is or narcissist she is, and then leaves the episode again for Crocker or Timmy's dad to get even more screen time. Some of her showcase episodes like Birthday Battle or A Sash and a Rash are genuinely pretty good. especially Birthday Battle. I really like that one. That's like one of the only good late series Fairly OddParents episode. But that's because the other characters are downplayed. For her to have an episode to herself, once the second half of the season gets going, she's once again pushed aside. I wish that she could have got more of a personality, anything to go off of, especially with her being a girl and being one of Timmy's friends. We didn't have any girlfriends before because he was always crushing on Trixie, right? But, like, she gets nothing. She's just there because they wanted to do a new character, but they didn't want to actually do a new character because they were obsessed with the old characters. Like, give her a chance to breathe. The animation quality is also particularly shit by the end of the series. The show was originally supposed to end in the middle of season 10, but the episode order was expanded, presumably to match Rugrats' episode count of 172, and therefore the budget was cut and the animation switched being made in Flash. I also think that the budget was a major reason why most recurring characters stopped appearing after season 6. Since if you use the same characters over and over again, you only have to pay a limited number of actors, especially if they play more than one character, like literally everyone in the cast. The weird, janky animation coupled with the stupid plots and characters just make the last 2 seasons a slog to get through. I hated watching them. The plots in general at the end of the series are also just really basic or boring and gross. For the boring option, we have multiple random camping plots with these squirrely scouts, which were used before but sparingly, and Crocker, Foop, Dark Laser want to ruin Timmy's life because blah 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 plots, or weird gross plots like Timmy's dad and Sparky falling in love with the same dog. Yes, this is an actual episode. Or Chloe wishing herself to be the mother of her own parents to go on a roller coaster ride, and them ending up ruining her life. I still have no idea what the fuck they're thinking with that dog plot. I just needed someone else to know that it exists. Please just acknowledge its existence, for my sake, and literally no one else's. My absolute least favorite episode of the series comes from season 9, Desperately Seeking Housewives. There were other really shit episodes in the last season, Certifiable Super Sitter and Chip Off the Old Croc in particular, but Desperately Seeking Housewives gets my vote for the worst episode, purely just because it's a ripoff of Love Struck, which wasn't even a good episode in the first place. I already talked about that one before. At least the latter 2 episodes tried to be original, even if they sucked immensely, and it was like just going through Mad Lib, just doing this, gotta do this, gotta have this character in here, gotta do that. Timmy's dad, Crocco and Crocker, for some fucking reason, he's in their house with Cosmo, even though we can't see him because that's in the rules, are all hanging out together, and they decide they hate women because they're always nagging them, those stupid bitches, and decide to wish all women away again. Oh my god. So all the women disappear and aliens come down from space and blah, 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 blah. I get so tired. I'm so tired watching these. That is the biggest word that I have for the last 2 seasons. Tired. The plots are dragging themselves along and desperately waiting to be put out of their misery, which they finally would be with the final crushing blow of being moved to Nicktoons in 2017. The Fairly OddParents didn't even get a fucking proper finale, instead ending on the episode Fancy Schmancy, a regular boring episode that probably should have never been made. If the Fairly OddParents had just ended back in season 8, having a couple iffy seasons but ending on a high note with a great final episode, its reputation would be way stronger today. Instead, the Fairly OddParents is mostly known for what it became in its later years. Something full of annoying characters, played out boomer jokes, and constantly breaking their own rules for the sake of those boomer jokes. It was honestly really sad to see the later seasons, after having some real fun watching seasons 1 through 3, and realizing how hot the Fairly OddParents could burn on a good day. However, not all was bad about the last 2 seasons. I'll give special mention to my favorite episodes from both, The Terrible Twosome from Season 9 and Birthday Battle from Season 10. The Terrible Twosome was genuinely pretty funny and had an interesting premise of both Poof and Foop going through differing versions of the Terrible Twos, with Poof only calming down on his plan of blocking the Earth from the sun by seeing Cosmo hurt himself, which is pretty funny. I won't lie. I'm a sucker for physical comedy. I have a bad sense of humor. I can admit it, whatever. Birthday Battle also had an interesting concept of both Timmy and Chloe being greedy monsters on their birthdays and competing with each other, and showed it in a much better and funnier light than her shitty introduction episode in the first episode of the season. There are some other decent episodes sprinkled in, especially in the first half of Season 9. App Trap with the human version of SpongeBob guy, Cosmonopoly, which is basically Patrick the game from SpongeBob, but before that episode, but they're kind of anomalies compared to the trash that we're cranking out. I don't want to end this review on a downer note. Even though the show had really high highs and really low lows, the cast really put their hearts and souls into their roles, and I won't let them be unacknowledged. Although all their performances got pretty exaggerated as the years went on, I'll give a lot of praise to Tara Strong, Susan Blakesley, and Tara Norris for making it through the whole series and playing a bunch of characters when the budget got too tight to hire new actors. I'm assuming, let's be real here. Strong's best performance as Timmy would probably be in the TV movie Channel Chasers. She puts a lot of heart into that episode specifically, and most of the charm of the special comes from Timmy interacting with his older self, who's played by Alec Baldwin, but he's not getting a mention here. Okay. Blakesley's best performance probably be early in the series, in Season 1's A Partnership, when Wanda wins Cosmo back from his mommy, while Norris's best performance be in Season 3's of That's Life, purely because he's really funny in it. His line about Dinkelberg doing the hand touch when Timmy's mom kills all his garden stuff is always really funny, so I enjoyed it. Now for the best writer and director. So my best writer of the show would be Steve Marmol. Basically, the series went to shit after he left. His and Butch's writing partnership basically made the series something special. I'm guessing he was the actual funny one in the partnership, considering Butch was still writing for the series when it went to shit and over-exaggerated all the characters and the broad cartoon stereotypes. My favorite episode written by him would be Season 3's That's Life. But he also at least co-wrote most of the first seasons in general, so most of the greatest episodes in the show's history are co-written by him, including Christmas Every Day, Information Superhighway, Father Time, even the first episode, which he wrote in its entirety, The Big Problem, which is also one of my favorites. That one's really funny, so good on him. He also wrote a ton for Danny Phantom as well, until the third season, so you'll be hearing about him there as well. Now for the best director, I'd have to say it's Butch Hartman. Even though Butch can be to put it lightly, very unserious writer, he directed almost every episode in the show's heyday. Still have to compliment him for that. He continued directing up until the 5th season, and most of the episodes he directed were bangers like Channel Chasers, The Big Superhero Wish, Boys in the Band, even co-directed the first 2 Jimmy Timmy Power Hours. Even though I don't think he was a great writer, he was a pretty good director, and that's something to be recognized for. Overall, it was a crazy roller coaster ride watching all of the Fairly OddParents for this review. We started off pretty high with Oh Yeah cartoon shorts in seasons 1 through 3, dipped a bit with seasons 4 and 5, dipped even more with seasons 6 and 7, soared a bit with season 8, and eventually crashed into the ground with 9 and 10. While the Fairly OddParents didn't end very well at all, I'll instead choose to focus on the good first couple seasons and the good episodes from the mid and bad seasons after them. I'm not particularly happy I continued watching after season 8 this time. I think I can say I'm one of the only cartoon reviewers to actually watch all of the show, instead of just complaining about the bad parts. Except I also complain about the bad parts, so I guess I'm a hypocrite, whatever. Now hold on tight for the next Nickelodeon coming tomorrow. The one, the only, the immensely shorter and better Invader Zim. See you next time, baby.
Make that wish. Fairly OddParents, magical trick. Wiggity, wiggity, whack. When you're feeling awful strong, you can wish it. When your sitter comes along, you can wish it. When something's going wrong, you can wish it. Now wish it. Change it up. Go forward. Move ahead.
Brand new Fairly OddParents products in stores and at the shop at Nick.com.